Baseball gaming makes a ton of money, so let's talk about it by beginning at the very first MLB game, simply titled MLB 98. Released in August of 1997 for the original PlayStation 1. This game saw decent reviews from the critics. The success of this game would prompt them to make another one, cleverly titled MLB 99. The first two MLB games were developed by Sony Interactive Studios of America, or CISA. CISA would eventually branch off to become 989 Studios. This studio was known for games like 1999's EverQuest, along with the third and fourth Twisted Metal games, to name a few. 989 Studios would not last long, however, as in 2000 they actually merged back with Sony, and with that came another name change to 989 Sports. This time they solely worked and focused on sports games for the newly released PlayStation 2. A new MLB game would actually be released yearly until 2006, where the franchise would go through yet another studio change. In 2005, 989 Studios would merge with Red Zone Interactive to become San Diego Studios. Now, this was still a part of Sony Entertainment, but the main focus of this stayed on the baseball games. MLB The Show was the next evolution of the baseball game, debuting with MLB 06 The Show on PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation Portable. This game would go on to sell an impressive 940,000 copies on the PS2 and 350,000 copies on the PlayStation Portable. We estimate this actually went on to make $61 million for Sony. From the success of this game, San Diego Studios would remain as the developers for the MLB The Show series. They would also go on to work on a few other sports games, including a few NBA titles, a bowling game, pinball game, and even Little Big Planet karting? By far though, the studio's bread and butter remained to be MLB. In November of 2006, the next generation of Sony console would finally hit the shelves, the PlayStation 3. And along with it, yet another MLB game. MLB 07 The Show would go on to sell 930,000 copies on the PS2, which is 10,000 less than the previous year, and only 280,000 on the PSP, or 70,000 less than the previous year. Now, while the PS2 and PSP versions were released on February of 2007, the PS3 version did not hit the shelves until May of that same year, which is odd considering that the game is published by Sony, the same people that own the PlayStations. You'd figure that they probably wanted out for the PS3 the exact same day as the other systems. And add to that, you also had reviews for the PS3 versions were rather mixed, as many of the reviews were quite lower than the PS2. The less than stellar reviews and the late release results in the PS3 copy only selling around 280,000 copies. The next generation console would soon become the most popular version with the release of MLB 08 The Show. Again releasing on the PS2, the PS3, and PSP, this game would sell a combined 1.45 million copies, with the PS3 version taking the lion's share of 700,000 copies. A significant jump from last year's release, to be sure. Like most yearly sporting games, this one received a few updates to help pretty it up, but it was still running on the same engine as the two previous releases. Now, while it didn't hit any grand slams in the review department, many did praise the game for its smooth gaming experience. Year after year, game after game, the show would continue to be published on not just the PS2, not just the PS3, but also the PlayStation Portable up until 2011. Released on March 8th, 2011, MLB The Show was the final game in the series to be released on both the PS2 and PSP. The PlayStation 3 version would actually get the PlayStation Move compatibility. However, from what we can determine, the Move support only seemed to apply to one mode of the game. Fun fact, San Diego Studios would actually go on to develop Sports Champions, a launch game for the PlayStation Move that demonstrated the new technology. Review-wise, MLB 11 was still quite solid, scoring above average on many of the review websites, but the sales of this game did not seem to do quite as hot, selling only 590,000 copies on the PS3, 130,000 on the PS2, and 180,000 on the PSP. This was by far the worst selling game of the MLB The Show franchise. MLB 12 would drive sales back up the very next year, releasing on the PlayStation 3 and the brand new PlayStation Vita on March 6 of 2012. This game did not have any massive upgrades, but like the previous title, it was compatible with the PlayStation Move. This game would actually go on to sell an impressive 930,000 copies for the PS3 and 200,000 on the Vita. The 2013 release of the series was much of the same, however, it did sell roughly 140,000 less copies than the 2012 version. The game had a number of gameplay improvements, but not quite enough to drive the sales any higher. Later that year, Sony would release its newest horse in the console race. That's right, it's the PlayStation 4. MLB 14 was released in April. However, this was just on the PlayStation 3 and the Vita. The sales between these two consoles were very low selling, only 550,000 combined. The savior for this year came on May 6 when the game was finally released on the PlayStation 4. This version was the fastest selling in the history of the franchise actually. Compared to previous year, Week 1 sales were up by 40%. The game would sell around 730,000 copies on the PS4 alone, even with this later release date. After 10 years of MLB The Show's franchise, MLB 15 would actually be the very first game to break over 1 million sales mark on a single console. Released in March of 2015, this game would sell over 1 million copies on the PS4, 400,000 on the PS3, and only 40,000 on the Vita. While 2016's release was just 40,000 copies away from breaking the million mark on the PS4, it did come with quite a few changes. For starters, this was the first game in the Show franchise not to have a portable version. This was also the last year the game would be on the PlayStation 3. By far the biggest change to ever hit the franchise. The name was changed. Gone was MLB 16 The Show, and to take its place, MLB The Show 16. Truly a monumental change for the series. MLB 17, 18, 19, and 20 were all great successes with well above average reviews. From our online sources, all these games have broken the 1 million units sold milestone. These 4 games were all also released solely on the PlayStation 4, with MLB The Show 20 set to be the final game of the series that will be a Sony exclusive. The newest version, MLB The Show 21, is set for release on April 20th, and unlike any other previous entries of the series, this one is finally leaving the Sony exclusive shelf. This game is going to be released on the PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox X. This is the most consoles that the series has ever been released on, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how well this one will sell. Let us know if you are a die-hard MLB The Show fan, which one do you think is the best? Be sure to leave a comment down there, and if you haven't, be sure to subscribe. We have a ton of video game, music, movie, and other content on the way that you definitely don't want to miss. I'm Dom, this is The Financial Fixation. Thanks for watching, and I'll be sure to see you in the next video.